Yeah, you wanted to hear a story about the Demiurge, and I couldn't tell you the Demiurge story without talking about the light first, but so I don't want you to mistake these two different personalities. Because if I don't tell you about the light first, then you're going to think the Demiurge is the light. I'm right in front of this, Norman Rockwell looking kind of god, big, long, flowing white hair, big white beard, he had like burning red eyes, brassy face, brass colored face, but he's translucent, kind of like the gold up in heaven, whatever you want to call that place. And he's severe. This guy is not somebody that you want to mess with. He's just full of serious intent, very, very serious guy. And he's got all these star maps, and he's showing them to me, I'm like absorbing it, and he's trying to explain to me everything. I'm like, I'm having to make some agreements to go into a body. And he's showing me why this star is aligned with this, and this galaxy, and this planet, and this, that, and he opened up some new books, and he showed me how we interact with one another. And one of them was waves. Okay, we're in waves, and the waves go across the whole earth, and they're like imagine ocean waves, and they're waves that go across the entire earth of light and darkness. And he showed me how he was like a filter for the earth. It caused the waves. In other words, he caused the waves by his presence of darkness. It's like, imagine putting up a veil in front of a window, and some of it goes through. And so, but that somehow putting the veil of it caused the light and the darkness on the earth to pull up. The light pulls up, and the darkness pulls down. And so the whole earth was like I just know what it was, okay? And the light pulled down. The light pulled up, the darkness pulled down, and it was like a perfect balance to him. And he was trying to explain to me how he was superior, okay, to the light. Okay, how was he superior? Because he had this thing balanced, and everybody lined up for miles and miles to come here because they wanted to experience what he has. And what he has is this perfect balance, 2/3 light and 1/3 darkness. It's like a counterbalance, the yin and yang thing, but it's not. The lightness it's more light than it is dark, and it's not always exactly in balance. And what he was describing is he needed me to do some things to keep the balance of light up, because if there aren't people doing light things, then the balance gets too wonkered and gets too dark, and it's like game over. Everybody goes home. It's done. And he cannot, people call him the devil. How can a guy be the devil who wants good things to happen? That wants light things to happen and wants love, kindness, joy. It's just because he wants to prove that he's better, than the light. Because look, I've got all these people that come down here. Trillions of souls, spirits, they'll come down here. They line up. 2/3 light, and it was a third dark. It was just, and it was gray. And I didn't see it in color. It's really weird. I saw it in grays, and I saw the grays, and I saw how the lights can move and cause tsunamis of light going across. And he showed me how I could influence the world in a positive way, meaning light. And he didn't say the word positive, okay? And that's my words, okay? He's saying he needs me to do this. He creates tension between me and you, between me and the Catholics, me and the Baptists, me and the Muslims, me and the communists. He creates the tension to create the waves. That's what he showed me. And he showed me that it's his game. And if I want to participate, I've got to agree to do what he says. And you know what that means? He showed me what that means. Well, if you say no, you know what you do? You just sit on a shelf for the, until the end of time. Is that what you want to do? I don't know, but just to be an observer, and maybe not even that. Maybe you just turn off until the end of time. It's compelling. The story is compelling. But he tells the story of his failure, and why would he do that? He ultimately concedes. When he's in a chess game and he starts losing, and when he starts losing, and I'll tell you when, there's going to be a period of darkness, and he showed me this. Now, this is a little bit different how he showed me. I saw at least 3 books. Okay, 2 of them, they blend together somehow. However, one of them I literally saw from a camera outside the earth. Fixed camera. Like it never moves. And it's there. And from this fixed camera, I saw the earth pop up there. And then I saw it go through different phases. First it was really beautiful. Wasn't, completely light, but it was beautiful, pristine. And then it starts to get a little darker, it gets lighter. In that 2/3 balance thing, he's showing me how good of a game he's played. What a good chess player he is, right? He's showing me how he manipulates things. And when things get a little bit out of whack over here, he lets more light in, and more of you light folks, those folks that do light things, like love, kindness, joy, compassion, mercy. He starts letting more of those in, right? Because he wants to keep his little chess game going. And so he's doing this. And then there's the ones that are pulling down. And they're like the spirits that cling to us. Okay? So all the while, you think he's like Mr. Nice Guy. No way. I think the unknown is what drove him initially. Imagine that you're in a big, gigantic room that's completely filled with light, and there's one little square or rectangle of darkness, and you know everything except what's behind that one little square. And so you're gonna sit there and go by that. And you're sitting there doing all these great, groovy things, awesome things, amazing things, but every time you pass by that little square that says, and right in front of it, you know that nobody's supposed to go through there, and there it is. Oh, there it is. Little dark square was created to create motion, the sense of motion, of multiple perspectives. Okay, I think God split up, and I think what God, the light, created was a lesser aspect of herself, and I want to say herself in that light that I saw in heaven felt more feminine than masculine, and that's too strong. It's too strong to say feminine, but it was less masculine to me. Is this abusive father that I see in my religion, as opposed to this loving, divine, kind being that never ever changed. It was male, and he was trying to show me how his game was better than the light game. He made a pretty good presentation, because I signed up, didn't I? I came back. Imagine if you were a computer programmer and they have statements called if, then, else statements. Imagine that if there's this one plan that he shows you, and if you do all of this, then everything you dream of will come true, and it will be more or less painless. You'll walk through life, and you'll be, the savior of the world, right? And yet, you get to be the hero, and he's showing you the best possible life you could possibly lead. The least painful way for you to experience life. Pain-free. You get everything that you wanted, and you come back. But what I saw was that there were branches that went off to either side. If this happens, then this happens, and the if and then 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 looks like I'm going to do the thens, and then everything's going to work out great. It wasn't from a selfish perspective. It was like, and so if you get shown that the best one that just goes straight, like no detours, it looks pretty awesome. It really does. And you're thinking, I can do that. But you don't realize that there are trillions of variables and at least thousands of participants in your life. I mean, if you just talk about human beings, they're all doing their if then else statements also. And so you're thinking that this is going to be you hear people say, well, God has a plan for us. Yeah. And then that God has a plan for you where things work out pretty good. And then there's some pretty ones that aren't so great. And those ones that where you get beat up a lot, and you get run down, and you get sick a lot, and you get hurt a lot, and dis-ease. Think about dis-ease. Whenever you're not going along your plan, you get dis-ease. You get uncomfortable, and so you're sit there and keep on going, doing the same thing, even though it's making you sick. And if you're not paying attention to that plan, and you forget, that's the problem. You forget the plan. You don't remember. You think that you're going to save the world or whatever you're going to do. You're going to make my thing is I wanted to end war. And I thought I was going to be able to do that. I thought that was going to be the big thing I was going to do. And I didn't. Here we are on the verge of going into World War III with Iran again, and nobody even cares. It goes over like a cold stone. I mean, I think a lot of people who see the negative stuff, like meeting the Demiurge, if you want to call him that, he's certainly not the devil. And what I saw that you just adjust your perception of it a little bit, and you can see the different stories popping out at you. And so I think that we're creating stories. I think that's what we do, and I think they're interesting stories, and I think that we're better for it. I really do. And the Demiurge is sitting there going, "Yay!" Yeah, he's right. I'm right. Because we give. Everybody says you got to experience darkness before you can know the light. And I don't know if that's true exactly, but here's what I do know: that when we're over there, we're insensitive to our pain here. We're insensitive to it because we don't feel it really. We can intellectualize it over there. And I intellectualized it when I was shown the plan that I was going to get to do. I could intellectualize it. I think I can do better than C plan. I can do A plan. But it was an intellectual exercise. I didn't realize I'd have to. And if you want to know how this Demiurge is, as you call him, world is not perfect. Just think of deja vu. People see little blips into the future. It's obviously not a perfect machine. If we're seeing in it, because sometimes you see stuff that just doesn't even matter. You see, I know it's recorded that way, like a program. I mean, imagine that time. If you first of all, and most near-death experiences will say there's no sense of time. But what if it's all done and we're just seeing the perspective in our kaleidoscope and so imagine that we're all of us, every molecule is, because if you're like, again, like if I go back to the hand's experiencing the world completely different than the neck is, or the eye is, right? And so we're all little pieces of this big, huge thing, and we're all perspectives. And yeah, if you want to call it a program, that's kind of simplistic, I think, but you got to understand the capacity of knowing everything from the very beginning of time all the way to the end of time. And if you already know that ahead of time and you're looking at it, you can look pretty smart. Absolutely. We'll get our life review. I got to see the earth from the very beginning, go through phases, go completely dark, and then at the very end, it was completely brilliant light. I'm talking about not just brighter, like it wasn't bright like the light is in heaven, but it's the brightest it can possibly get. We'll still have physical bodies, but they'll be physically lighter, and they'll be brighter, period. Physically lighter, they'll be brighter, period. There'll be no sickness, death, no illness. People won't eat people, or they won't eat animals, or they won't kill anything. The plants, I saw them, and we will not kill a plant. There'll be scientists that are there that literally, if you eat the root, you won't eat the leaves. If you eat the leaves, you won't eat the root, or you'll just eat the fruit of the plant. You know, it's so interesting how the world's going to be for thousands of years, and it's worth. That's why we keep on playing, because we think that we're going to get a chance at this, and that is in one of those if then else statements. You know, if you do some growing up while you're here, and you start doing some right things, I mean by helping out instead of hurting, you might get to participate in this. He's admitting he fails. He did, and why would he do that? You know, except that he's saying, look, he fails with his 2/3 light strategy. It doesn't work. They don't want to reincarnate, or whatever you want to call it. They won't sign the contracts anymore. Whenever you're a chess player, I'm a chess player, okay? And if I'm playing against a computer, and I know I'm going to lose, and I'm behind a piece, I might as well quit. You know, I mean, we're talking about, you know, whatever the most powerful chess game is, nothing compared to, that's just one chessboard. But imagine you have a chessboard with trillions of players on it. And you know what's so interesting is that there's 2/3 more light, pure lights. I'm not one. I'm going to tell you right off the bat. Don't go thinking I'm claiming to be Jesus. I'm not. I'm not Buddha. I'm not Jesus. I'm not anything. I'm better than I was. I'm not who I was. Who I was clearly somebody destined to destroy, kill, murder, racist, sexist, xenophobic. I'm not that. I'm not one of those points of pure light that I saw. And they're all over the earth. And not everybody that's light one day is going to be light the next day. They get influenced by the world around them. And we have crystal clear moments in our lifetime that are brilliant. And they show up on that. You know, I told you about the waves of light. They're crystal clear moments of light that we have sometimes, that aha. And it ain't whenever you save the world. It's whenever you did something pure, loving, kind, joyful, mercy, compassion, kindness. You cannot have compassion in the light, because there's nothing to have compassion for. There's nothing hurting. You know, you cannot have mercy in the light, because there's nothing to show mercy for. It's perfect. Here, there's a reason. We allow so much hurt here so that we can get opportunities to either experience mercy or compassion, or to show it. It's like our opportunity to do something that can't be done in the light. And that's the pitch. If I'm going to pitch for the Demiurge, that's what I'm going to pitch. Show me. You can tell me, because up there are people sending souls here every single day, and they have no concept of our pain and suffering. And they just keep doing it. They line up, get in line. They have no concept that they're going to sit there and drop into a body that's going to hurt other people. And you do. Everybody. I don't care who you are. You're going to hurt somebody. Just because if you walk through a field, you're going to step on a bug. You know what I mean? You're gonna hurt somebody. If you have a baby, you're certainly gonna hurt somebody, because that woman is gonna be hurt by that. If you're a woman, you're gonna hurt that man. You're gonna it's going to happen. It happens. We hurt each other. That's what we do. But if we can do anything in this world that makes it so we get towards that place where we're not hurting each other, and I'm talking about in that beautiful world that I saw, where it's pure light. It's not pure light. It's very, very filled with light. It's show mercy, show kindness, show compassion. If you can do those things, in this world, then it's like an entrance into that world. If you can't do that here, you don't get to play in that world. You know what I mean? That's the trick. How do I get there? By showing compassion and mercy and kindness. But also, here's what I want people to know. If you love everyone else in the whole world, and you don't love that baby that's you, if you're cruel to yourself, if you're unkind to yourself, unmerciful to yourself, if you don't get those things figured out in this lifetime, you're probably going to line up and do it again. You know, as you sit there and abuse yourself, hurt yourself, and I'm not even talking about the people that go out and hurt other people. I mean, it's easy to say, you know, I'm not hurting people. I don't go out and run people over on the road. I don't back up over people. I don't treat people poorly at work. But what if you've got this little battle going on inside your own head? And there's a part of our brain that stores those thoughts, that works on that actual aspect. It says things like, I hate you. I want to die. You're stupid. There's this little bitty part of our brain. It's right on the other side that says, don't put your finger in the fire. It's like there's one side on one side it does something to make you not stick your finger in a fire, not to put your finger in an electrical socket. But on the opposite side of the brain, they have a name for it. And I should have looked it up, but I wanted you to hear it straight from my heart, because I know it. I fought it for 20 years. I would help everybody else get the shirt off my back, literally. Give, volunteer, did all kinds of things. And those are good things. I'm not going to say they're not getting into heaven, because they will. And they do. The good stuff you do does get into heaven. It gets into your life record. It's recorded forever and ever and ever. But am I going to get back in that line again? Well, we can participate in this world and others. And I'll tell you how that works out. I saw the very end. I mean, I'm talking about this Demiurge, or whatever you want to call it. The guy who does all the contracts. He records everything. He's like the producer. Okay. And he's producing this show. It's his show. And if you don't sign up for his contract, you don't enter. It's his game. You know, people call him God for a reason, because he can give you gifts. He's like Santa Claus for you. Okay? He gives you undeserved gifts. Okay? Well, let's talk about angels. They're right there behind you. They're tugging at you. They mess with your electronics. If you're not getting it, I've seen angels before. I've seen different kinds. But I'm just talking about the ones that I don't see, the ones that are looking over my shoulder. You know, the ones that say, you know, whenever you're driving down the road and you look off to the right and you see this little glint over there, and you change lanes, and then there's an accident right in front of you that you missed. I mean, wouldn't you say that there's some influence there? If you ignore that sign, we're given all kinds of little signals all through our life to help us get down to that better life outcome. Okay, it's not all what we think. We all have free will. We're given lots and lots and lots and lots of help to get things to go the way that we're supposed to go. I mean, sometimes we ignore them and we break our necks. I've broken my neck 3 times. I've started listening. So I start listening. I pay attention. I do stuff that my intuition says do, because it might just save my life. But it also is it might be where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be doing something. If I don't quit my job and move to Austin, if I don't, change my career, if I don't meet this certain person and have an interview, you see what I'm saying? You start listening to your intuitions. And sometimes your intuitions are not right, though, because sometimes they're pulling down. They're pulling down, and that's that. If you talk about that Demiurge, the guy with the brassy face, flaming eyes, he doesn't always want you to do good, because he doesn't want to mess it up the other way. You see what I'm saying? Because it's game over for him. You see? It's game over for him either way. If the balance gets too bright, he loses. If the balance gets too dark, he loses. He has to keep it in that happy medium. So if you're going to really change the world, he's going to come against you. So 66 2/3 is perfect for him. Too low. If it gets below 50%, then who wants to play in a world where you don't know whether you're going to live or die today? You're going to wake up and get eaten by a lion. I mean, can you imagine? You go back to a prehistoric Earth, there aren't going to be very many human beings around because they're going to get eaten. I mean, and who knows how many times the earth has been wiped clean. I'm not going to say I saw that. I saw something like that. But it wasn't like this big one that's going to happen. Yeah, it's going to be bad. I mean, there's going to be no light whatsoever. I mean, I'm not talking about, there's going to be no sunlight. There's not going to be any electricity. There's not going to be any electronic devices. There won't be, I think anybody who says anything, they can, if they say this on this date, this is going to happen, they may have gotten a little snapshot of something, but I don't think that they're getting the whole picture. They may have got a snapshot that may or may not happen. What I saw is a lot worse than any kind of war. I saw everything, but I'm not allowed to remember it. And why? And here's what I want to know: why did he let me remember this whole thing? It's because he wants us to know. Otherwise, he wouldn't have told us. He wouldn't have told me, and I wouldn't be telling you if he didn't want me to. If it was like game over for him, he wouldn't want me to. Because you know what I'm saying? If it's going to pull things either way, if it's going to really make a difference, if it's really going to change the world in such a big way that it either pulls the whole world down into chaos, or if it lifts it up out, then it doesn't happen, because he doesn't want that. And so, and that's the reason why every time you see something really awesome, and it seems like it's going to get off the ground and everybody's going to get behind it, and then all of a sudden just water gets thrown all over that they end up calling them crackpots or whatever, ridiculous, but their intention was right. They were going along, and then they get discredited, humiliated. The media comes out and blasts them, and then it just dies. Think that it's all good out there. That's just, that's completely wrong. I mean, I hear lots of people sugarcoat their, they have a near-death experience where they saw everything was good, everything was perfect. Man, that ain't what I saw. I saw where it was perfect, and it ain't here. Man, I came back, and oh my gosh, I hated myself for what I believe. Literally just hated myself. Even though I would go out and do these things I thought were good, helping people, being kind, compassionate, merciful, I would just hate myself because I couldn't do enough. You know what I mean? I couldn't do enough. Never could. Still can't. But at some point, you got to say, I'm going to get up and do something today that helps. My great sadness, though, is that I could do my very best, and they're going to send in the counters, the pulling down. They'll pull down your family. They'll pull down whatever you're working on. If you're working on something that's really cool, they'll drag you down in another area to keep you from really accomplishing that absolutely transformational thing. And they'll drag you down, and they'll hurt you, and they'll hurt people around you. And when they hurt the people around you that are not spiritually like full blown, I've got my protections out. I know what's coming. I can hear the voice of the difference. I can literally, if I go and listen to for example, a church, and I go into a church, I don't even have to know their language and know what they're saying. It either sounds like the light, or it sounds like the Demiurge. It either sounds like love, or it sounds like this 2/3 God that people call God. I know the difference, and I'll walk right out of it. I remember walking out of churches covering my children's ears because I didn't want them to hear what they were saying, because they were lying, and they were saying they were God, and then at some point I started figuring out their God is the Demiurge. Their God is that one, the 2/3 light guy. He's not good. He's not evil. He's just mostly good. But I mean, let's do a fair deal. If you make a 66.66 on your math paper, you just failed. You know what I mean? If you just judge yourself on what college says, or high school even, you failed. You didn't even get a 70%. Well, making a D ain't exactly a stellar life, and it ain't a stellar world. It ain't the world that I want to be in. But am I willing to come back for another one like this? No, I don't want to. And I don't. And if I can plant it in my heart in a loving way, that I've done a lot of cool stuff. I've done a lot of love, done a lot of forgiveness, compassion, mercy, kindness. If I can go there and say, look, I know I could do more, but I'm ready to participate in that next one where the light turns bright. And if I get told no, then afterwards, I've committed myself to being a teacher. I've taught blind, the deaf. I've taught the thousands of children. I try to teach people through radio, through the internet. And the only thing that I can say is I may not be that pure light, whatever it is, but at least I try to express what I learned to the limits of my ability. I'm not saying I'm there all the time. I'm not Jehovah. I'm not Jesus. I'm not Muhammad. I'm not Buddha. I'm not Krishna. I'm none of that. But I know I'm doing better than I was, where I was a psychopath, egomaniacal, racist, sexist, xenophobic, hate monger. I'm not that. So I'm doing better. Hoping that us talking about God being love has changed the world. I think it has. I think there's a lot less people that are willing to hang on to their hateful God. And if we can get rid of people wanting to hang on to that God that's willing to drag us down to teach us a lesson, the thing is that as many people do good, there are some that actually are very powerful, and they're not good. They are there to balance this out. And yeah, they have a purpose, not for the light. The light could do without them. That's the bargain. God created this darkness so that there could be motion. But the best thing is to be where it's a lot better balance. I mean, there's still going to be children born in this new world. There's still going to be, you're going to still eat. It isn't going to be just like hanging around on clouds. There's going to be work to be done. There's going to be cleaning up the earth, first of all. And then the next thing is there's going to be creating new systems that are going to help out to create a better world. And the next thing is, we're going to get to have our fun. We're going to create musical instruments. We're going to dance. We're going to sing. We're going to have there's no more crummy jobs. All jobs will be from a place of our joy. What is it we want to learn in this lifetime? If you want to play sniper games, guess what? There's another world for that. Imagine if you were to take all your DNA and come out with the best one. You get it. It's going to be like that. Whatever the good qualities of you, the best version of you. And I think personally that I saw somebody that looks a lot like me, a little bit younger version of me, picking up the earth, removing PVC metal from buildings. Looked just like me. I'm not saying it was me, not this me. I mean, I probably die in this one. I mean, I didn't see it, but I probably die in this one. But I saw a me in a world that gets better, where all the buildings get totally taken down to the ground, and all the metal and PVC all gets taken off planet. I saw the darkness, and then I saw the light completely covering the earth. It comes the light finally goes through unshielded. The Demiurge, as you called him, just completely gives up. He says, "I lose. Game over. You won. No more. No people are not coming here anymore." But the remnant, there will be a remnant, and the remnant will, people will start coming back. Whenever the earth gets wiped out. And there's all kinds of horrible, awful people who want to kill most of the planet, and they're trying to bring this on. And all I can tell you is that their intentions, even though they have two intentions. Their one intention is because the Earth needs to have the population reduced, but the other intention is nefarious. Killing people is not good, and so but they have this dual bipolar mentality that makes them think that what they're doing is good, and when in fact it's the polar opposite. If you're poisoning children so there won't be less children on the earth, shame on you. I'm sorry. There's got to be a better way to do it than poisoning them and killing them. It's going to happen with or without Prince Charles. Okay, I saw it happen, and I believe it will. From my perception of it, is that we just are done. In other words, kind of like if you read the Jesus story, he just goes into heaven, right? But in this lighter version of us, we'll have options to go back. In other words, your turn's over. Just go let somebody else do it. But it's not like dying with a horrible, your heart quitting or your brain locking up or getting an aneurysm or a stroke. It won't be like that. It'll be okay. You go home. The way I saw it was not linear, but I did see it was a good long periods of time. It wasn't just like a few weeks or months. It was thousands of years. Yes, and it goes on for a good amount. But then at the very end, okay, but it'll be real hard to get there because you won't have any mental health issues. Okay, you won't have chemical problems. You won't have addictions. Without chemical problems, addictions, disease. If you don't have disease and no reason to make money because you're not going to go hungry, and the place I saw, the weather's even temperature, even temperatures. They're temperate is what they call it. Imagine Southern California without any bad days, no smog. But all over the world, won't have any reason to have windows because there won't be any pollution to blow through there. You can work up some jealousy, but it'd be real hard to do. Whenever you can say, well, I'm jealous of this person. Well, after they're done with the person they're with, after 100 years, maybe y'all can hook up or whatever. But but it's gonna be. But there's not going to be any sickness or mental health problems that cause it. If you get jealous, they're just going to take you out. As you're done. It's going to be more transparent. The thoughts, it's kind of like in heaven, kind of like that. Okay, but it isn't completely telepathic in that if you don't want somebody to read your thoughts, they're not going to read them, and you get taken out. I believe that there is a chance. But if you mess up during that time, you're not going to die. Most people. Well, first of all, you have to have proven yourself, okay, to get there. Okay, I've worked on these things. I've been working on them, or I did it once and did it right. But the point is that, you're going to have proven yourself, and then you'll get to remember. You know what I mean? It won't be like this time where we forget everything each time we come. You'll remember your lessons. Well, it's kind of like spiritual muscle memory. I think that we gain some, but then depending on what we do, right out of the box, we start crying for our mom's tit, and then we get jealous whenever she doesn't give it to us, and so right out of the bat, we're already creating that separation, and then the mom gets tired of the child's crying, and puts them out of the room, closes the door, there's so much that we think that we can work our way through, but we're not living inside of that little baby. I think it's too hard. It disgusts me, the wars that we're in. I know that my own country is bombing women, children, that didn't mean us harm. In fact, they like us. some of them that we're killing. Wow, you're just bombing somebody that was waiting for you to save them, and yet you bombed them. How's that good? Demiurge showed me. Okay, he said, look, I failed. He's showing me his failure. He showed me his failure. Okay, I failed. The world became completely dark. People are running around in chaos. There's a remnant of people who are being loving and kind anyway, who are laughing and joyful anyway. There are these little points of light in absolute darkness. There's no electricity, but people will give off their light. Okay, and so you think that's like I saw in heaven, right? I saw those orbs of light, but that's going to happen on earth. But then imagine that the earth becomes completely filled with light, and people are like that. They're like those little orbs in an earth that's already completely done its course. Everyone has learned their lessons. They're finished. They've figured out how to be the best musician, the best singer, the best piano maker, the best whatever they want to do, and they're finished. They've found their true love, but you get to work on whatever it is you want to work on. I mean, if you're an artist, do your art, whatever that art is, and I think it's going to be a beautiful moment of time. Okay, well, at the very end, I saw the earth go through all these phases, and it goes to this brilliant light phase, right? The light goes into the, I wanted to mention this. Those ones that are going to try to hide out inside the earth, then that ain't happening. The light's going inside the earth. That's where they're going to be hiding. Those dark souls that are trying to manipulate and control the earth, they're going to be hiding underground, and they're thinking they're getting away. Well, it'll save them for a little bit longer. I mean, they'll be the last ones to get caught. But, it might save them for a day or two, maybe a month. Who knows? Maybe 2, maybe a year. Okay, whenever that time of darkness comes, first of all, if you have food and you stored it, great. Fantastic. If people are beating your door down wanting to kill you for it, by golly, you got to make a decision at that time. That's decision time, isn't it? And when you kill that person that's trying to get your food, oh boy, what happens do you get to participate in that light that's right on the other side of that? Or do you kill that person and oops, you were shoved into a position where the whole universe is going to be watching during that time of dark. How are you going to act? And for me, I'm willing to starve to death. I don't want to kill anybody. I saw people fleeing around in chaos, and I saw these certain core people of people that'll be walking together, singing. They'll be joyful. They'll be laughing. There is nothing to laugh about. I mean, the world is in literal chaos, but they're going to be the points of light. If you see them, join them, and if you don't see them, become one, so the others will join you. I'm not going to kill anybody for a can of tuna. I'm not going to do it. If I can hide it, I'm going to hide it. Okay, so that I can feed my family. Yeah, it's going to be total anarchy, total breakdown of civilization. People are going to be running, fleeing, scared, frightened, and they're going to do things that they ought not do, and especially to their fellow human being. The whole world's going to be in chaos. And what we do during that time, we can be humane or we can be inhumane. That's it. You got two choices. Right? If you're humane, that doesn't mean you let people kill you. I'm not saying not to wrestle off the boogeyman. I'm just saying I think that we've got to be points of light. I think that's our protection. I think that if you're in Costa Rica and you got enemies on every side and they don't attack you, why don't they attack you? Because you're the one person that isn't going to stab them in the back. I think you just got to be a point of light. And I know that there are lots of people storing up their food and ammo and guns and preparing to kill all the hordes of hungry people. I mean, if there's 7 billion hungry people out there, and you got the only can of tuna, I got a feeling you're going to lose that deal. I think he's just admitting he failed. And I think that people give in to their lower impulses. Whenever it becomes dark, we become frightened, fearful. After a certain period, some people say it's 3 days, some say it's 7 years. I don't know how. I mean, I saw it as very brief. I mean, I'd like to think it was 3 days. But, you know, to hedge my bets, I'd probably try to at least save 3 days worth of food. But even better, I think everybody ought to save up a certain amount of food and water, just so you don't have to go out and kill somebody else for their food. I mean, that's nothing wrong with that. But as far as storing up a bunch of guns and ammo so you can kill people, I don't know. That ain't happening for me. I mean, there's some people, that's what they're believing in. They're saving up their instead of buying diapers for their kids, they're buying another bullet. You know, instead of buying shoes for their children, you know, they're buying another gun. That's what I say. You know, this is probably the longest interview I've ever gone through. But I think that it's important to say what happens at the very end. At the very end, the whole earth explodes, and there's nothing that takes its place. The camera stays there until the end of time. So everybody who thinks the new world is right here, it ain't. The world that we're creating is the world that we're going to have. And the one that we rebuild is going to be the one we have. So we ought to be trying to save it instead of hurt it. And there is an end, though. Whenever the world ends, there's a last day for this earth. And from the internally, it just blows up. And the souls, those orbs of light that I talked about, the ones that were Costa Rica, the ones that were brilliant, singing, joyful, they go out, splinter out all over the universe, and they're like star seeds. They're the seed. They seed the galaxies and the universe with human beings who've actually survived up to that point and they're complete souls. I mean, they're filled full of light, and they've lived outstanding lives. And the world blows up, though. But the thing is that people think that it's never going to end. Time ends. And it does end. And when it does end, we're going to get to see our stories. And our stories are important. And I think we ought to create a love story. That's what I think. Now, that story that I told you, it sounded like War and Peace, but it was 3 hours long. But I think that it needed to be told, and I don't know if it gets told in one setting, but I did what I could for 3 hours. I saw a lot more than that.